Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here in June. I'm very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching. Welcome to episode 8 of Smallville, the saviour of Superman. As a passionate Superman fan and Smallville fan, I'm so loving doing these videos with my fellow Smallville and Superman fans. But the views are not great, but we're going to get them up. We're going to keep on doing this. We're going to keep on persevering because today I'm going to talk about the Smallville series finales. Not series finales, season finales. So just like with the premieres, I'm going to cut the series finale out of it because it's not a continuation. We're just going to talk about the season finales. And my favourite season finales, by the way, are the ones during the Alan Miles era. Alan Miles just knew how to give us a great season finale. But before I talk about that, if you're not following John Glover on Twitter, you're not paying attention. He's on Twitter and he's on Instagram. Go follow him now. And he quote tweeted Paul Dini saying he's at the Joker movie premiere, and this is what he had to say. First film looks great. According to Robert Wall, Tim Burton said to his... Let's start again. According to Robert Wall, Tim Burton said to his ears that his first choice for the 1989's Joker in Batman was me. In other words, Tim Burton told someone else, right, that his first choice was John Glover to play the Joker that Jack Nicholson played. Wow. Must not have had the answering machine on, but WB Pictures has come calling several times since, and I'm grateful for my delicious DC role. So are we, John. So are we. He's absolutely fantastic. He was in Batman and Robin, wasn't he? He was the one creating Bane and all that before, and basically, was it Poison Ivy who killed him? Go and rewatch it. He's that weird, mad professor. He was brilliant in Batman and Robin. One of the few good things in that film, by the way. But it's a lot of fun. It's okay. But yes, imagine that. Imagine if John Glover would have played the Joker that Nicholson played in '89. He would have been terrific. But as one door closes, another massive Smallville, Lionel Luthor door opens. I think if he got that role, he would never have been in Smallville. His career just would have gone up in a bigger way. Mainly, John's been successful in small TV roles, in a couple of movies, in small roles. He's mainly done theatre. But for Alan Miles to bring him in as Lionel changed everything. I can't imagine anyone else playing that role as fabulously and eloquently as John Glover did. I mean, even if Lionel wasn't in a scene, you wondered what the bastard was up to. He was fabulous, and the more evil he was, the better. And he was funny with it as well. John Glover is brilliant on Twitter. He's really good. He likes certain comments. He's liked a lot of my comments. So check him out. It's what is his handle? The Real John Glover. It's actually funny because I remember the day I saw him on Twitter for the first time, and I was shocked. And he kept on assuring us all that it was his account because at first it took Twitter ages to verify him. And I wasn't so sure, so I was but then I kind of started believing him because he posted like proper pics of where he was and stuff. And it was just so exciting to have John Glover on Twitter. Now, John Schneider is on Twitter and I follow him, but all the guy does is promote what he's doing, his songs, and I hate to talk like this because I don't want to offend any Trump supporters, but he's a Trump supporter. He was defending Trump on Twitter. This doesn't change my love for him as an actor. Also in Dukes of Hazzard and Smallville, he was fabulous and he played such a fabulous role, and I love him for that. But you know, this is the problem with social media. You learn a bit too much about people and sometimes your heroes can disappoint you. But you know, it's his life and he's allowed to support who he wants politically. But anyway, fellow Smallville fans, let's talk about Smallville season finales. Now, I think the art of the season finale has gone in TV, both on streaming and on broadcast. Now, I grew up with shows like Dallas, who always had the amazing cliffhanger season finale. Who shot JR? Who shot Bobby? You know, some amazing moments. Even in Dynasty and Knots Landing to a lesser extent, they did proper season finales back then. And Alan Miles had that kind of way of doing it, where the season finale was very special. Nowadays, a season finale is where they tail off a story and you don't really get a big cliffhanger. Because creators these days go, we don't want to do a cliffhanger for the sake of doing a cliffhanger. But it's exciting. We don't care if you resolve it within the first scene. It's so cool. And Alan Miles did great cliffhangers. And actually, they did kind of bleed out throughout the following season, and especially for the season premiere. So we look at Tempest. Was it Tempest, the season 1 finale? A brilliant finale. We got the tornado. We got lots of things going on. Basically, the Luthor plant is shutting down because Lionel is obsessed with bringing Lex back to Metropolis, and then Lex is doing this whole buyout, and that whole scene in the mansion with Lex and Lionel was brilliant. Before that room starts and the pillars start caving down, and one of them lands on Lionel. When I first saw that, and Lex has got the blood round his eye, and the lights are flashing on and off from the lightning. And you can see it in Michael's eyes. Brilliant performance as ever, of course. You don't know if he's going to really save. You don't know if this is it for Lionel Luthor, the father of Lex. Is this the moment he lets his father die? And would that bleed through the rest of the seasons? Now, they didn't do that. Either way, it would have ended up being awesome. It would have been great for Lex's arc, especially if nobody ever knew that he allowed his father to die. But also, we had 7 seasons of Lionel. Then we had alternate Lionel in the final season as well. So I'm glad. I'm glad for that. It's a really great finale. And I think, is it Chloe who's going to leave Smallville because the Luthor plant is shutting down? Clark and Chloe are trying to get all romantic, which of course was never going to work. And so there's lots of things going on in that finale, and it's great. Then we got the season 2 finale. Now the season 2 finale is really, really special because that's the debut of Terrence Stamp as the voice of Jor-El. Bloody hell, Alan Miles, how did you do it? You've got iconic people from Superman the movie, from other elements of Superman live action, and you put them in great positions. I mean, look what they did with Christopher Reeve. You know, I spoke about it the other day. They could have had him just wheeling past in a cameo, but they gave him such an important character for Clark's arc. Brilliant. But Terrence Stamp as the voice of Jor-El debuted in the season 2 finale, and it was brilliant. And of course, Lex was getting married to that doctor, I forgot her name, who ended up being kind of a really cool villain, didn't she, for a little bit? Well, for the season 3 premiere, anyway, went up against Lionel. It was fun. It was fun, but yeah. So the season 2 finale, you've got Terrence Stamp as the voice of Jor-El. Now Clark's got this whole thing where he's saying to him, by a certain time, you've got to leave Smallville. Or whatever. So Clark decides the only way to get rid of Jor-El is to blow up his ship. Well, of course, you can't just blow up a Kryptonian spaceship, can you? And Lionel, conveniently, has got a kryptonite disc, which looks like the same disc that Clark had, which is the key for the actual spaceship. So Clark nicks it, and there's a great scene in that finale, in the season 2 finale, between Pete Ross and Lionel Luthor. And this is a great scene. And this actually, I'm going to kind of complain about this a bit. Sam Jones III, who played Pete Ross, he was lit. Look, I don't want to be controversial, but he was pretty much cast because he was an actor of colour. And basically, they didn't have anything for him. The network probably told them to do it, and they didn't use him properly. And that's a shame because Sam was so good. And when they gave him something to do, he was brilliant. And this scene in the Kawatche Caves, when he's trying to distract Lionel, Pete, so Clark can nick the kryptonite disc, is a brilliant scene. And Lionel's like saying to him, oh, you know, you're losing your temper, be careful. And then when the disc goes missing, he does the same thing to, and then Pete he turns it around and he goes, careful, Mr. Luthor, you don't want to get emotional, or whatever he says to him. And it's brilliant. And I loved Pete for those 3 seasons. And what a shame. I mean, Pete, the boss, Ross, brilliant. I love it when he's a racing driver as well. So I think Sam deserved much better than what he got on the show. Because back then, literally, what they'd cast one actor of colour, leave them in the corner just to say, hey, we cast that actor of colour, which was absolutely ridiculous. But, yeah. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. I love Sam Jones III. I'm sorry that he got him, he was in trouble with the police and went to jail, but he came out and hopefully his life's better now. But I love Sam. So Sam, if you ever watch this video, which you won't, love you, dude. I love all my Smallville alums. Yes, Alison Mack too. I love Alison, what she did on the show. What happened with Nixon, is it called? I don't want to talk about it. Anyway, right, so it's a great finale. And it ends up Now, don't forget, in season 2, somehow Martha became pregnant. Now, the whole thing with Martha is she can't have children, but she's exposed to the spaceship, which actually from the season 1 finale, so that was a great bleed out from that. And somehow the ship was able to allow her to conceive a child. Now, what happens when Clark blows up the spaceship? Jonathan and Martha are coming towards the farm, and the explosion pretty much makes the truck crash, and she loses the baby. And kind of Jonathan blames him, but he doesn't. It's one of those things. So Clark runs away. He puts we were introduced to Red K. One of the great things about Smallville was we actually got introduced to different color kryptonites and were educated how they affect Clark. And the Red K is the red kryptonite, which pretty much takes away his inhibition. So he puts it on and he goes to Metropolis. And he can still hear Jor-El, a.k.a. Terrence Stamp's voice in his ears, telling him you can't get away from this. Because I think a lot of people didn't understand what Alan Miles were doing with Jor-El at first. The whole point is everything he's putting him through are trials. But us as the audience and Clark don't realise that. Why is Jor-El evil? Jor-El's like a good bloke. He wouldn't do this. But they're trials to toughen him up, to make him, to teach him things. So when he's Superman, he can actually, he can handle saving the world. He can handle what he's going to become. The pressure of the whole world, the whole universe looking to him for protection, if you like. So the trials things with Jor-El were absolutely fantastic. So the season 2 finale was awesome. I tell you what, it's really hot. So I do apologise for wiping my brow. It's me age. You can't take much. Anyway, then the season 3 finale, right, is one of my favourite finales. The whole head shaving thing with Lionel Luthor, a.k.a. John Glover, with the classical music. And I love that music. And sometimes when I play it, I sit here on this chair and I imagine I'm Lionel Luthor. It's just so cool that this guy's having his head shaved and the whole world is going to shit, or the Smallville universe is going to shit. So while this music's playing, he's having his head shaved slowly by one of the ex-cons, right? And that ex-con's awesome, by the way. But anyway, right, so he's getting his hair cut. So they've got the classical music on. So Chloe's going into protection, whatever you call it. She's going into protection. So they're putting her in a secret house, right? So all of a sudden, that house blows up. And then it goes to Lionel, and you can see the evil look on his face. It's like, he's responsible for that. Then you see a Kryptonian symbol burnt into the Kent farm. And then it goes back to him. Of course, that's nothing to do with him. That was pretty obvious. Then Lex drinks the whiskey or the scotch or whatever it is. He collapses. So they're telling us someone's poisoned his whiskey. It then goes back to Lionel. Of course, we find out in season 4 that Lionel wasn't responsible for that. It was actually Genevieve Teague. But anyway, and then obviously you've got that whole thing with fake Kara, who's not Supergirl. She's just someone from Smallville who was infected by the meteors, who Jor-El kind of trapped in the cave until he needed to use her. So she lures Clark into the Kawatche caves, and he goes into the cave walls, and he vanishes. And then, obviously, when the guy finishes shaving Lionel's head, and I'm sure, I'm just recollecting, it's brilliant. We all know about this. We're all Smallville fans, aren't we? And then when the guy finishes shaving his head, Lionel just goes, "Thank you." It's brilliant. It's a brilliant finale. It's one of my. I tell you what, I will tell you my favourite, and I might have to have a joint favourite. Then the season 4 finale is even better. The season 4 finale is excellent. I've discussed this a little bit again, but I'm going to repeat myself sometimes, so you may have to go if you get bored of me rattling on about Smallville. But that's what Smallville, the Saviour of Superman, these videos are about. Because we need a place, I think, where we can recollect about Smallville. Anyway, right, so the season 4 finale is brilliant. Jor-El tells Clark there is a meteor shower coming. That whole scene in the Kawatche Caves, I love it when Clark goes in there and goes, "Tell me what you've done." "I have done nothing, Kal-El. It is you who have brought this upon yourself, Kal-El." "What did I do?" And I love it. I love the conversations between them. There's this father-son thing going on. It's brilliant. The relationship between Clark and Jor-El is very similar in a way with the relationship between Lionel and Lex. And really, Jor-El's trying to do to Clark what Lionel's trying to do to Lex. And it's kind of interesting because you've got Lionel trying to teach these lessons to Lex, but it fucks him up in the head. It messes with the guy because the guy's already messed up, right? And it just doesn't work. It creates a monster. But what happens with what Jor-El's doing, where he's doing exactly the same thing to Clark, which is what Lionel's doing to Lex. But with Clark, in the end, it sinks in. And these trolls are actually helping him. And the reason that is because he's got Jor-El giving him these trolls, but at the same time, he can go back to the loving arms of the Kents, who are teaching him the right human things. And I think it's that balance between Jor-El and the Kents that help Clark become Superman. It's neither one nor the other. It's the whole thing. And I think it's brilliant. So basically, you've got a meteor shower comes. The season 4 finale, according to Alan Miles, if I remember rightly, is one of, I think they got a bigger budget. They're really able to, really expensive episode, but it was worth it. You've got Christine Krug and Jane Seymour fighting in Lana's apartment, which I loved that scene. I thought Jane Seymour was phenomenal in Smallville. I really enjoyed her. And the scenes between her and John Glover were absolutely iconic as well. So Lana, well, it isn't Lana really. Once she picks up one of the elements, because the whole season, they're all after these elements, which are obviously connected to Krypton and Clark. But Lana thinks, because Lana is got this ancestor who's this witch. In a way, it was an odd storyline, but I loved how it was all connected to Clark and the crystal that he needs to form the fortress, to educate him to the Kryptonian ways, to give him the training that he needs. And I just love how Alan Miles did that. And Clark always had to earn anything of his kind of Superman legacy, if you like, his Kryptonian heritage. And that whole season, having to wrestle those elements away from Lana, Jason Teague, Lex, it was pretty awesome. And then you get all these things happening. It's really awesome. I loved the stuff when Jason Teague's holding the Kent hostage as well. That's really awesome. And then Clark grabs the crystal. He's beamed from the Kawatche Caves to the North Pole, and it's awesome. And then he picks up this crystal. It flies. It points to that direction, and he chucks it. And that's the end of the season. Absolutely fantastic. So definitely 3 and 4 so far are my favourites, and I'll get down to my other favourites as well. So the season 5 finale of Smallville is not one of my favourites. I really like it. It does what it needs to do, but it's definitely not one of my favourites. But I think it's really good. You've got Brainiac. Lex becomes Zod. It's really, really awesome. Some great CGI. It's very emotional. I love that scene when Lana goes to Clark. You don't love me. No, you don't trust me. You never trusted me. I can't believe I ever loved you. And I love the expression on Tom's face. So hurt, so innocent, so Superman. I love it. So the season 5 finale isn't one of my favourites, but I really like it. Now, on parallel, the season 6 finale is there for me with seasons 3 and 4. The season 6 finale is absolutely fantastic. It has everything. You've got Martian Manhunter. You've got the Phantom becoming Bizarro. I love it when they're both running towards each other at the end scene, and then Clark goes flying out, and then you see Bizarro flying out and his face distorting. I really like the season 6 finale. I love the whole stuff with Lana faking her death. I mean, it was a bit weird. I mean, it was obvious she wasn't going to die, but it was pretty awesome. And so I really loved the season 6 finale of Smallville. Now, the season 7 finale of Smallville it's a weird thing. It's not the greatest of finales, is it? But you've got this great final scene between Lex and Clark in the fortress. That is iconic. That's one of my favourite scenes of any Smallville. And the whole scene between them, it was Michael's final episode. We didn't know who was coming back for the series finale then. Obviously, we didn't know what was going to happen. But that scene makes that finale iconic. It's a great scene because that caps off Lex Luthor's arc. And it's brilliant. I love you like a brother. But it has to end this way. But what's amazing about this version of Lex Luthor, he tells Clark he loves him like a brother. Now, in the comics, he doesn't love Clark like a brother. Lex Luthor is jealous of Superman. He thinks he should have Superman's powers. He hates him, right, with a passion. But Smallville's different, and I don't mind it, by the way. not only he believes in his mind that because Brainiac's manipulated Lex, don't forget in this finale, in this episode, he thinks Clark has to die. But he's not going to let Clark die alone. And I get emotional thinking about this. He has Clark in his arms and he's willing to die with Clark. Even though he believes Clark's got to die because he's dangerous, he's not going to let Clark die alone. He loves Clark. Clark's like a brother to him. I love you like a brother. But it has to end this way. Beautiful. And ends up the Lex and Clark dynamic in such a beautiful way. Now, the season 8 finale is pretty... Look, it's okay. I like it. I love elements of it. I love the clash between Oliver and Clark on how they should deal with Davis and Doomsday. Obviously, Davis killing Jimmy Olsen is very devastating, very emotional. I love Jimmy's funeral. I think that's awesome. I think it's a really good finale, not one of my favourites. Now, the season 9 finale is very interesting. Again, it's an excellent finale, but I don't think it's up there with what we used to see with Alan Miles, but I think it's excellent. The fight with Zod, with Clark and Zod, is beautifully done and directed, and I really enjoyed that. And to see Clark falling to his death like that, so iconic, and what a great cliffhanger. So I like that. So I'm going to say that my favourites are the season 4 finale and the season 6 finale and the season 3 finale. So what is my favourite season finale? Is it the season 3 finale, the season 4 finale, or the season 6 finale? I think I'm going to go for the season 4 finale. I just think the creation of that moment where he froze the crystal, and then the crystal goes towards the camera and it says "to be continued" with John Williams' iconic Superman music. You can't get better than that. The meteor shower, the emotional element of this episode. I could just watch that show without binging the rest of Smallville. If Smallville had a series finale, I would have preferred that to what we've got. In fact, if you think about the season 4 finale, that would have been a great finale. No. Think about this, right? Think about this, right? What's a better series finale? The season 4 finale, right? Or what we got in the final season, in the series finale? Think about this, right? The series finale was dominated by Lois and Clark's story, by that wedding. And it slowed the pace, and it made the episode a slow burn. There were great elements into the episode, but it just didn't feel like how a Smallville series finale should be. Now, think about the season 4 season finale, right? Clark is about to embrace his destiny, right? He's got the crystal. There's a meteor shower in Smallville, right? Now, there's elements you'd have to take out of that because of the continuity and stuff. But think about it, right? At the end there, he grabs the crystal, he throws it, and the Fortress of Solitude is about to rise. All you have to do is have the sequence from the season 5 premiere Arrival. It rises, he goes in, and "you have travelled far, my son," and whatever he says to him. And then that's the end of Smallville. That's the end of Smallville. He's going to become Superman. The fortress rises, he goes in the fortress, Jor-El speaks to him, "you've travelled far, my son." Now, whatever he's going to say, he's going to chat. Basically, if you add the season 4 final scene and that moment in Arrival when the fortress rises and he actually goes in the fortress. That's it. That's actually a better climax to Smallville than we actually got. Now, you're obviously all going to disagree with that, so I want your comments down below about that and how I feel about the series finale of Smallville and what I said about the season 4 finale being a better end to Clark's story. But also, what's your favourite Smallville season finale? Is it season 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9? Do you want to add the series finale or not? Comment down below. Please like, share and... What? Like, share, and what is the other thing? I don't know. Anyway, it's been a long-ass video. I've really enjoyed in talking about Smallville. There'll be another Smallville, the Saviour of Superman tomorrow, and I think we'll be on episode 9. So see you then.